What's up, everybody? Welcome to your Death Stranding 2 on the Beach review, a kind of funny Gamescast for Monday, June 23rd, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside Forbes 30 Under 30, a.k.a. New York Game Awards nominated, a.k.a. BB Poppy. Blessing, Adeoye Jr.
Good day, Greg.
Good day to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Has this notebook shown up on content? Did you bring it out on the preview? I don't remember.
I did bring it up.
I was
on the
listening. I guess so I just forgot. This is an amazing notebook. Hold this up.
Yeah, right.
Look at this. It's a little Death Stranding thing they gave you when you were at Kojima Productions previewing it.
Yeah, this is one of those ones
like
where I mentioned this on one of the preview things, right? But we got there and they're like, by the way, no laptops, no phones, like no electronics allowed at the.
You're not allowed to connect.
You're not allowed to connect while we're connecting the world, connecting Australia.
We're connecting the disconnected world.
Yes. But yeah, they gave us these notebooks, and so all my notes are in here. And it's funny, I didn't take any more notes for the review, and so when I got in, because I had left this in the office, I was like, you know what? I'll just use my notes from the preview because I don't think much has changed. Spoilers. But like, I just started reading these, and I'm like, oh man, I took a lot of notes, and a lot of them are. It's funny just looking back.
Give me your funniest one you've seen so far.
I mean,
open the page, find me a funny one right now.
The one that
it's so funny, it shouldn't be that hard. Find a funny one.
I mentioned one to you right before this, right? Of like, this is the best I've seen a baby look in a video game. LOL. There was another one where I just write BT spiders, and that's it, which we'll talk about. There's a note. I had an earlier note in here that says something along the lines of like, oh no, this game is playing it a bit more straight, and then a note here that says, never mind, Kojima on his bullshit.
Yep, as he should be. And rounding out our trio, it's the one, the only, it's Jerica Hannah from JK Games Podcast. Hello, Jerica.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm phenomenal.
Yeah?
I'm a little tired, but I cannot wait to
Why are you so tired?
I've just been playing a lot of Death Stranding too.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't talk about it, and now I finally can. So the energy something has crept into my body, and now I'm alive. Yeah. Every time I pee on something, a mushroom appears.
There you go. Exactly. You should get that checked out.
Yeah, maybe.
Jerica, of course, thank you for joining us. Of course, we love collaborating and crossing over with you, but this, of course, only happened because you reached out to me and said, hey, who can I talk to at PlayStation to get a code for Death Stranding 2? And I said, hey, why don't you just come review it with us?
Hell yeah.
And you said, yeah, and we did a whole thing in Chicago where we revealed it. But I want to correct you. I didn't write into you're wrong, and I also did miss the very, very end of the show, but I don't think it came up. You said, of course, we flew Jerica out here. Jerica flew herself out here. She said she literally said this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So she flew herself from the one, the only Green Bay, Alabama.
Green Bay, Alabama.
No, I remember I said it when we were out there. And I was like, wait, are you Arkansas? Or are you in Alabama? And I went Greenbow, Alabama in the Forrest Gump voice.
Oh,
that way I'll always
I
remember Alabama.
I was like, okay.
But I had to get there in the end. So Jerica, thank you for doing that for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that journey here, everybody, because of course this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday on a variety of platforms, we run you through the biggest topics in gaming, whether they be previews, reviews, or just topics we need to talk about. We cover them all each and every day live. Twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames, of course, podcast services around the globe. If you love that, of course, join us when our programming day starts with Kind of Funny Games Daily. It goes into a Gamescast. Then there's something like the Kind of Funny Podcast. Then we stream video games, and we have a great time. If you like what we do here as a small, independent, 11-person business, we would love you to pick up the Kind of Funny membership. Patreon.com/kindoffunny, YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames, Apple and Spotify. You can toss us $10 a month. Get all of our shows. That's more than 80 episodes a month ad-free. And of course, get your daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a series we call Greg Way. That's 15 to 20 minutes of me podcasting solo to add up to 4 hours of exclusive content each and every month. If you are watching live, like so many of you are right now, of course, be part of this show. You've read IGN's review. You've read GameSpot's review. You've seen it all. You've probably read Jordan Midler's at VGC like I have. Go ahead and super chat on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames with your questions, comments, concerns. We will tackle them here. Of course, this review will be spoiler-free as much as that's possible. No big beats, but obviously we're going to talk about pieces of the game you might summon. But I want you to know ahead of time, obviously, don't go into story spoilers. We wouldn't be there for you. However, housekeeping for you, we will be there for you this weekend. If you didn't know, Friday, Mike and Roger are freaking it again. Friday the 27th, Mike will go step for step on a treadmill with Norman Reedus in another literal marathon stream for the launch of Death Stranding 2. But this time, they have a few surprises. Get ready to go the distance because they will stream as long as you support. Can they make it past KFGD on Monday? How high will Mike's heart rate be? How much chilies will they order? Come find out Friday, June 27th, exclusively on Twitch. Then, of course, on Saturday, it's my championship parade. Here in San Francisco, I'll see you outside the ferry building on the Embarcadero at 10 a.m. We will do a parade on the sidewalk. We will walk Wheel of Signs. We will mock Tim and ruin Pokemon Go Day until we get to Square Pie Guys, 10 to noon, Saturday in San Francisco. Of course, we're an 11-person small business all about live talk shows. Kind of Funny Games Daily already covered that Meta and Xbox are teaming up for a headset, and Jerica doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Do you?
Care less.
No. I got my Xbox everywhere. I don't need it strapped to my face. After this, it's going to be the Kind of Funny podcast featuring Danny Jollis, and then it's going to be a stream of Dune Awakening with Mike and Nick. If you're a Kind of Funny member, today's Gregway is Mike and Roger buying a treadmill, and I've seen parts of it. It's an experience. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Omega Buster, and Delaney Twining. Today, we're brought to you by Cash App and Mood, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with what is, and forever will be, topic of the show. Death Stranding 2 on the beach is upon us. Of course, out tonight for Deluxe Edition users. You can get in and get it that way. June 26th for everyone. The PlayStation Network description reads, embark on an inspiring mission of human connection beyond the UCA. Sam, with companions by his side, sets out on a new journey to save humanity from extinction. Join them as they traverse a world beset by otherworldly enemies, obstacles, and a haunting question. Should we have connected? Step by step, legendary game creator Hideo Kojima changes the world once again. Jerica, you said you are low on sleep.
Yeah.
How many hours have you put into Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and have you rolled credits?
Around at 80 hours, and I have rolled credits.
80 hours,
Could have been more. It could have been more.
Yeah?
But I wanted to see the finish line.
Talk to me about those 80 hours then from a top level. So that's obviously main quest, but how much side stuff did you do? Where did your time start getting lost?
I started taking my time back from the game, and that's not a negative way of saying it. Like, I want it to take more of my time. We'll get to that later, but probably about 30 to 40% of the game, I've started going, just mainlining more the main missions in the game.
But beyond that, were you just doing all side stuff? Were you building roads?
Oh yeah. I got way deep in the weeds with building my roads, and we'll get to it, but like some of the exciting things with this game is what else can I unlock with this prepper, and started really getting connected with some of those individuals I was meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blessing?
Yes.
How many hours are you in Death Stranding 2, and have you rolled credits?
I have rolled credits.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun talking about this because I did the preview at Kojima Productions a couple months ago, right, where they allowed us to play up to 30 hours of the game. So this playthrough, the review playthrough, I rolled credits at around probably closer to 45 hours of playing. If I combine that with my preview, then we're talking about probably closer to 70 hours of playing overall. But for this playthrough, it took me about 45 hours to roll credits.
Okay. And then I have not rolled credits. I am in episode 14 of 16 episodes. Talking to you out there, you're like, you got like an hour and a half left.
Yeah.
But last night I was playing, got to a thing, and I was like, I'm going to put it down here. Obviously, 40 plus hours, I have plenty to say about it and know how I think about the game. But we'll get into all of that. But I don't want to start there since I didn't even finish it. Blessing, right back to you. Give me your top level synopsis and score for Death Stranding 2 on the beach.
It's so funny because, like I mentioned before, I most of the time for reviews, I like to take notes, and this time I didn't because I felt like the notes that I would take are the notes that are already in this preview.
Yeah, of course.
And honestly, a lot of the things I said during the preview echo here. I'm going to read one excerpt from my preview notes to kind of sum it up. I said, this is a rare direct sequel from Kojima. It feels reactive to any and all criticism of Death Stranding 1. The combat is fun and engaging. It gets you into the game quicker. There's more dynamic weather and obstacles. There's more tools and upgrade systems. The story feels easier to follow and more interesting. It's more beautiful. It's bigger. The soundtrack is better. There's more variety in the BTs and the ways to deal with them. There's a glossary system akin to active time lore, which makes the story easier to follow. And all that still echoed here, right? I think the game is still doing the thing of, all right, direct sequel. What are all the pieces of feedback that we can take from the previous game that we can use to make this game overall just a better experience? The one other excerpt I'm going to take from my preview notes is this. As buck wild the rules of this universe are, there is such conceptual and emotional buy-in from those crafting this story that I can't help but to buy in myself. Death Stranding 2 plays so strongly by the rules of the first game. I'm emotional from an early on speech about beaches. And I think for me, playing it in this review playthrough, that's the thing that shines most is Death Stranding 1, when I think I first played it, and when we all first played Death Stranding 1, I think one of the main takeaways was, oh, this world is weird. Oh, the Kojima is like going full Kojima. Oh, this game is bizarre. All that shit, right? Oh, chiral network. Oh, beaches, BTs, BB, like all that shit.
Yeah.
Playing it this time around, I can't believe how much buy-in that I have into 100%. The universe that they've crafted here, where they're talking about the chiral network and like crazy things that go on with the chiral network, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, I get that. That's weird. Like that's interesting. Like I'm fully into what they're doing narratively here, and I think it works because it's fully in on what it's doing, but then also they really use the world to uplift the characters. And this time around, I think the characters really shine. I don't know if I have a favorite character. Maybe I would say Troy Baker's performance as Higgs is like my favorite performance in this game. It's fucking awesome. But between Fragile, between what we see out of Elle Fanning and Shioli Kutsuna's character of Rainey, right? Like, I love this cast so much, and I think narratively, the themes that they're tackling, the tone that they have, like, I think it's really unique. I think it's really interesting, and I think it's really special. Gameplay wise, it's more Death Stranding, but in all the best ways, where they have figured out how to make this the best truck simulator meets third person action game in the weirdest world possible that they could have made. And I fuck with it so heavy. If I'm gonna give this a score out of 10, I'm gonna say it's a 9.5.
Damn, you love to see it. I'm jotting down things you're saying because I want to double back to them. But Jerica, top of the order here. Where are you gonna score this one?
Listen, I was obviously I wanted to ask to be a part of this because I've played a few Metal Gear games. Metal Gear Solid 5 was the last one I played, but I never finished it. Metal Gear Solid 3 was my first Kojima game that I digested, and to say that, I'm like, Death Stranding was like one of the first games obviously doing his own thing, and I just fell in love with just how weird it was, and the story overall like really hit with me. And I'm not the most exciting person in video games when you're like, what the play style. Like, I could do a walking simulator, which was a lot of people talking about the first game. I enjoy the ambiance. I enjoy the Death Stranding is a vibe, and it helps you like sit and reflect with what you actually got going on in your life or with Sam in the game. For Death Stranding 2, I think the fix was the pacing of it all. And primarily, like, for me, I can recommend Death Stranding 2 to someone that hasn't played the first game, and it be okay. And I'll get to that in just a second. Because it gets you into the world much sooner, they equip you with tools that are introduced at the right points of the game, depending on what area you're in, depending on what part of the story. The narrative's tied into that too. Like, you're introduced and fed at the right points, and it encourages you. I feel like I am empowered as a player to try new weapons, to go to this new area that looked a little nerve-wracking. I don't know if I want to go over there yet. I know there's BTs over there. By the way, I never enjoyed BT interactions in the first game. Still don't love them in this game either, but I felt more empowered to not shy away from those experiences. But overall, like, I think the fixing of the pacing, the introduction of the narrative, and how they sort of set you up for success based on that next mission is really well done, and it's way easier to follow. I think this is going to be more of a hit with more people now. But yeah, it's the learning curve of this world is intimidating, especially if you haven't played the first game. But they do a lot of things to help with that.
What's your score?
9.5.
Damn, you're right there with Bless. I love it. That's
I want to get back to it
fantastic.
so bad.
Yeah.
I'm ready to do it.
Greg Miller.
Hey.
How'd you like Death Stranding 2?
Well, I'm jotting all the notes down because I can't wait for this discussion with you all. But yeah, especially for so many people watching this, history with Hideo Kojima games is quite well documented, right? Like, I would not be here without Metal Gear Solid. So that's how important that game was, let alone that series, let alone him as a creator and stuff like that. And so I've had an interesting ride with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. An incredibly enjoyable one to just, get ahead of it or whatever. But what's fascinating was even pulling in, you were talking about, a better experience. It's easier to follow these things here. I went back and listened to the Kind of Funny Gamescast review of Death Stranding 1, the original one, not the one Roger and Mike just did, but the one that was me and Fran and Andy and Imran, right? And Tim leading it and us talking about it. And there were wise words said on that podcast by me. And they were listening to Fran and Andy talk about where they were with the game. And I kept saying, oh my God, I wish I had that experience where I mainlined Death Stranding 1's trying to hit review embargo. Mm-hmm. And Andy and Fran were similar, comparable hours to me, but were lost in the side stuff. And so with Death Stranding 2, I feel like I explored more and did more side stuff, which helped me care even more about the world and about what was happening. And I think something powerful that you said, Bless, was the idea that like when you get it, the buy-in from both the creators and the players is so important here. Listening to that Death Stranding 1 review, of course, from 2019, right, when the game originally came out, November 8th, 2019, it was this, the first question from Tim is, what is this game? Because we still didn't know, we didn't understand what Death Stranding was. So there's so much bending over backwards, and to start Death Stranding 2 on the beach and be tossed right back into it of the Chiral Network, the BTs, like there's no hand-holdy, like there is, we talk so much about Final Fantasy 16, right? And active time lore. The fact that they have their little glossary every time it pops up, you can hold down your start button, right? You can go right in, read it, you can go back there. When you come back to the game after a full restart of the game, it pops up and there's like story so far section, you can go click in and refresh yourself if you are lost and all that. Like, you talking about the better experience. So many of the reviews talking about both good and negative and positive impacts of a frictionless experience, right? I think that goes so far to make Death Stranding 2 something very special. And for me personally, on the score range of where we're talking about it, it's an interesting one. You and I went to lunch on Friday, and I was talking to you about it, and I was like, for where I am right now, I think it's an 8. I think it's a great game, but I'm not obviously done with it, and I need this. And I was talking about the things I wanted out of it and stuff. You were like, well, hold your horses a little bit, blah, blah, blah. And so now to be there with an hour and a half to end credits, they paid off in the end here with what I was looking for of like, here's this big story moment. Here's a meaty cutscene. Here's all this stuff. And it was like, okay, like last night, yesterday into last night when I was really cranking through it, it was like, damn, you're giving me what I wanted here. And it was this slow, methodical build to get there. So it's like for me right now with an asterisk not being, I mean, I'll beat it in 2 after the Kind of Funny podcast. I'm going to sit down and beat the game, right? I'd be leaning towards 8.5, but I'm also hot on the ending as I build to the ending. So I'm interested to see if the ending actually pays off and everything, let alone then doubling back to do more of the stuff and finish off more of the side things. Like, this is always such an interesting thing where we're reviewing these games. We want to stay quiet to each other, but then you also hold so much in. And so outside, when it was just me and Nick out there, he was like, oh man, Tim sucks. I'm like, I know he does because Tim's not in the office. He's like, we gotta stop making fun of Tim. I'm like, no, we don't. I sent Tim a video from Death Stranding on Friday night, and he didn't even respond to it. I want you to watch it. And I start playing this video, and Nick's just watching, goes, this is insane. And I'm like, I know. Like that's what this game is. It is that level of quirkiness, of weirdness. Again, like Kojima being Kojima, coming in and giving you all this stuff to do. And I've plenty of criticisms on it, but I found myself even in the car talking about it. I would make the criticism and then go back to like what the mission statement of the game is. Like, what is he trying to say? What is he trying to do here? So for the things that bump up against me here and, 40 plus hours of it, like it's a great game. I think it's a great, great game. I'll be interested to see when I finally roll credits and obviously go back and plow through some more side stuff, what I'm going to feel like. Because I still want to go, I still think some of the most interesting stuff I've seen is the end of those individual threads with the individual people who need you and stuff like that. So it's going to be a fascinating look at this in general. But again, I want to get into all of this. We have so many questions. I have so many things jotted down. I guess where I would want to start is the question of Blessing.
Yeah.
What was your style of gameplay? When we launched Gamescast as a daily product, one of the things we always said was it would be so great to read other people's reviews and talk to each other of how this happened and that happened. And so reading Simon Cardy on IGN today, reading Midler over at VGC, it was interesting how they tackled situations. Mm-hmm. How did you play Death Stranding? Because to Jerica's point, you're given so many tools. There's so many different ways to tackle things.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was surprised and delighted, the phrase of the year, where when I would get to a new facility or deliver to a new prepper, and they would give you an upgrade or give you an item, and they're like, oh, here's this unique grenade thing that I'm not going to spoil, but like it'll fucking do this, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe. First of all, I'm never going to use that because I don't play that way. Like, there are so many times where I'm unlocking items where I'm like, wait,
not for me.
Like, not for me, but also that's cool as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not even a way that I imagine tricking like the human enemies in the game, because they see like I'm putting out a grenade that pretends to be a thing, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think to play that like that, because when I'm facing human enemies, I'm playing the game like a fucking action game. I'm playing it like a third person shooter. I'm playing it like Metal Gear Solid 4, honestly. Like, where I'm going around, like, it starts off because I one of the items you'll get kind of earlier on in the experience is a trank sniper rifle, which I think is like the first like, oh, this is clicking moment for me, where I'm like, oh, I can now, if I go to the tower to mark everybody at an enemy base, and then use the sniper rifle to like start picking them off one at a time, and then they'll run to me and then I mow them down. Like, that's sort of my routine when it comes to the human bases. So I was like really impressed when I started listening to other podcasts this morning as well, where they're talking, like Jordan Miller was talking about how he would stealth around and like he played it like a stealth game, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you could do that. I had moments where I'm in an enemy base, I need to extract something, and I'm taking out people, and I have one person left, and I can see that they're on the other side of the base, but the thing I need to extract is right in front of me, and I'm like, I guess I can let that guy just chill, right? I'm not, in narrative, I'm not killing these people. I'm just knocking them out. So it's like, well, let me just get my bag and leave. Like, fuck that guy, and so I'll do that. But earlier on, I referenced Truck Simulator because that is sort of how I played. At a certain point, you unlock vehicles, I think, faster in this game than you did in Death Stranding 1. And one of the vehicles you unlock is a bigger truck that can hold more items, and it runs a little slower, but like you can customize it to, you know, have like one of the things I like is that it has like a pulley that'll grab items from the ground as you're driving past them. And after I unlocked that truck, that was the way I navigated the map most of the time. Okay. Like I've been on the Mario Kart stream we did last week, I was saying a lot of like, hell yeah, brother. And like, honestly, that's my character in Death Stranding too. Like it is Norman Reedus with his backwards cap and sunglasses on, driving a truck, and me being like, all right, let's hit the countryside. Like, we're gonna deliver packages. And like that was the game for me. Like the BTs was, I think, were the main thing where I'm like, all right, cool, abandon the truck, and I'm going to tiptoe through these BT areas while slowly hitting them with the blood grenades. But for me, that was the way that I played.
Jerica.
Pretty similarly, I definitely in the first game, like I was always hesitant to jump in. Like I didn't really engage in like the mule camps at all, because I just always got my butt kicked, and I was like, they're messing up my deliveries, they're beating up my packages, I don't want to do that. But with Death Stranding 2, I feel that I've had tools given to me, or at least incorporated like how I might go about doing this. So combat has been a part of the game that I usually shy away from, but this one I'm engaging more. To your point, like I love the sniper. Like I was using that a lot because I don't want to go hand to hand until later, and we'll get to that later. I actually had a lot of fun with the melee later on. Yeah. But initially, like I don't want to fight right now. I don't want them to like mess me up. So like let me take them out from a distance, or let me trick them and use some of that stealth action to save this camp or get whatever materials I'm going to get. But overall, like I do love just walking around in this world so much. But that's where it starts taking time. And that's just that's the vibe. You know, you might not want to invest this much time into a game, but if you do and you enjoy that, you're going to have an amazing, but you don't have to. That's what I love about Death Stranding 2. Like you can play your own way and keep that from beginning to end, it seems. So to your point with the BTs, and like I learned exactly like how many grenades I needed to take out this this BT, and I sort of kept to that pattern the rest of the game. But I will say, like, like overall, like you can play pretty much any way you want to play. I like to explore this world because it is so pretty, though. Like
it's a really good world, especially compared to Death Stranding 1.
I'm playing on PS5 Pro. And I stayed in quality mode the whole time, baby. Oh, wow. I did. I normally am a performance gal. Yeah. Listen, I like those extra frames when I can, but like, I don't know, if it's been technically shared what it is on the PS5 Pro yet, but like it seemed to be at 60 FPS in 4K. Like it looked awesome. And performance mode looked pretty good too, but I to not get too deep into that, but let me go back. Yeah, it's so pretty. Like, and I love going and looking for a place to put down a little stamp to tell people like this is a great place to take a picture. That's kind of gamer I am. I like, Pokemon Stat was one of my favorite games as a kid growing up, so I like taking pictures. The photo mode's awesome. It's all about the journey. At the point where I had to sort of stop doing that because I wanted to get to the end for y'all, like I want to get to it, where I started speeding up, that's where some of my fun left me, like going faster through this game. So
yeah, it's a game you want to soak in.
Take your time with.
And I think you nail it of like, I think, again, a lot of reviews we're seeing today are talking about it frictionless for positive or negative reasons. But I think that's done overall in a way to make it your own.
Yeah.
What do you want the game to be? And I found that to be refreshing and exciting and definitely an interesting choice that I think works for and against sometimes. And to how do you play the game, right? Like I am Midler. I'm trained in the trenches of Metal Gear Solid. I am stealthing everything. I am using that fucking rope to choke the shit out of people every time.
Oh, yeah.
Take them down, CQC, right? And so it was interesting to be in those situations and, all right, cool. Sam, thanks for making this delivery. Now we're giving you this fucking gun that does this. I've never even touched the sniper. Never even wanted it. Never did it. Never. I think I stealth in, I sneak through. And again, like as I went and played, right, then I'm getting things that augment that play style as well. I have a whole kit of shit that I don't use because it's not for me at all. But then you're getting decoy grenades, right, that throw off and you can put up a hologram to distract people over there. Yeah. You're getting stealth grenades, toss them down. They'll make like something you can hide behind, all these different things. I'm like, okay, cool. This is dope, right? But then it comes into this interesting thing of a criticism I would have for it is the fact that I think since you're giving me all of this and saying tackle it however you want, I think then the overall quality of those combat scenarios comes down a step. Where you were talking about shooting a guy stealth and then having them come at you, right? Yeah. And doing that way. It would be this. There was one stealth run in particular that I then, aped for all my other stealth runs of like, all right, cool. I'm coming in. There's not that much cover. This long bridge. I'm gonna go over. Oh, the guy saw me. Oh wait, he's coming. This area is so large that this guy's coming at me. And now I can do it. I have a silenced gun. I can take him out or whatever, and it doesn't matter. So I would take him out. He's down, go a little bit further. Another guy would see me, have that guy come here, take him out, right? And it kind of broke the immersion of like tighter scenarios where they would see bodies or be turned off by that kind of thing. So again, it was part of my play style of that's how I attached and attacked because I wanted to come in stealthily. But then it kind of was immersion breaking, like, you're not that smart, the other guy isn't doing this or calling that in, or they didn't see that or hear that. It's a push and pull of then you could do it your way and tackle this, you could do that. BTs, I'm right there with you, Jerica. Like, Game 1, I never enjoyed fighting them. Death Stranding 2, I also don't enjoy fighting them. So I was the same way of like, cool, going out, let's get the blood grenades. Like, I'll just fill my grenade pouch with them because I know it's going to take 3, sometimes 2 to take these guys out. So I'll be ready for it. But then I was also the same thing of, I don't remember, and I know, especially reading a lot of the reviews today and the comparisons to Death Stranding 1, vanilla, not Death Stranding directors, which changed so much. But Death Stranding 1, I really don't remember using vehicles that much. I remember being I am the kind of gamer of like, I'm going out and, oh man, the battery's down to, a fourth. It's gone down a fourth. I need to stop. I need to fit. Like that part of it, I never did. So like when I started experimenting this time and I got the big cruiser truck and I put on all the extra batteries, it was like, cool, I'm driving this thing everywhere, picking up every piece of cargo, dropping it off all the way, to trying to go to the specific places to get more likes rather than entrust it to somebody else. But it was that idea of like, okay, cool. Like I'm driving. And there's a BT over there. I'll let the BT notice me. It'll do the tar thing there, but I'll hit the jets and just drive out of the BT tar rather than have to fight him. And even then it's like, it's cool that I have this option, but then I also don't feel like I'm playing the game correctly, but it's what I'm allowed to do. So it's a weird one of like, I don't like it, but I do like it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny hearing people talk about their play styles, because I think something that the game does that I really like is it puts you into the mind of its own world, right? Yeah. Where it's, I saw something in one of the reviews where somebody mentioned like, oh yeah, and I ended up driving over the enemies to kill them. And I was like, I would never have thought to do that because I don't want to cause void outs. Like, there were times where I was like, I was in a truck and I looked at an enemy and I was like, I could run them over, but like that seems risky, so I'm gonna get out and like use the non-lethal stuff because I have such buy into the world they're building. So like I don't even know what happens if you run somebody over type stuff, right? And like I think that for me that goes for when you unlock a new weapon or you get to a facility and you have the prepper that like is doing the typical Kojima thing where they explain everything and like any detail, right? Like they will talk through a view of, oh, and I just put together this BT holo grenade that will do this and this, and if you throw it at an enemy, it's gonna do this and this and this. And I'm like, even though I know there are people that probably hate that shit, I love that shit because it makes it feel realer to me, right? And like I think in that same way, the more and more I unlocked these things, the more it did feel like I'm breaking the game a bit because I think way more than in Death Stranding 1, in this game, I feel somewhat overpowered, but in a way that I like because I look at it as like, yo, I'm Sam fucking Porter Bridges. Like I am that guy when it comes to delivery. I am that Amazon truck driver. And so like, I kind of like being able to look at a thing and being like, all right, I got to drive all the way here, or I got to drop off a package all the way here. And I know there's a BT area, and like having the inkling of what if I just get in my truck and just fucking drive through it? And I do that and like shit starts to go awry, but I still get through it. I ended up enjoying that experience, even though I think I felt like you in some ways where I'm like, this is the way the game wants to be played, but also is there a way the game wants to be played? Because it is sandbox overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of what they're trying to do here. What Kojima and the team are trying to do is give you that experience of what is your Sam Porter Bridges. And I think that works well in times. I think sometimes it works against it. I think, my biggest criticism, especially early on when I was talking to you and I was like, I don't know, an 8 or whatever. And I think it's changed here at the end in what they're giving me story beats wise. But I think for the majority of this adventure, I never looked at Sam Porter Bridges and said, oh, it's Sam Porter Bridges. I looked at him and went, hey, it's Norman fucking Reedus.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like Norman Reedus, Sam has fewer lines, it feels like, in this game overall. He's a more quiet protagonist. You do have choices on what you can say at certain points, but those aren't voiced. And so when I have him in this stupid hat that gives him a buff that I'm wearing, you know what I mean? I have him in his sunglasses. Even before I had him the stupid hat with buffs, I had him in the trucker hat that said, why me or whatever.
Yeah.
He's wearing these sunglasses. I'm like, that is just Norman Reedus on a press tour. We did nothing to his hair. We did nothing to his face. I'm not, but like, I think the story they tell here on paper sounds very emotional, but I feel like I would say for my 40 hours, right? 30 of them have not been emotional. Like, I think here at the end, we've come together where it's like, okay, now I'm with you. Now you're doing it. You're giving me these full-fledged cutscenes that are really driving it home. But this is where I argue with myself. One of my problems with the game, in terms of my criticism, is how clear the gameplay loop is and how much the gameplay loop is Death Stranding 1. So if you've already played Death Stranding 1, you already know where I'm going to go, but stick with me of like, you go to the terminal, you get the order, you get the thing, you plot out your course, you get there however you want to, which I adore. I'm such a dork about it. I zoom in, I actually put the markers of where I want to go. I'm like, I'm going to do this and navigate up. I think great. Get the thing, drop off the order, great. Go back to your base, go back to the thing. Usually get to, go to sleep in your deal. You wake up, and then you wait there, sit on the bed. Somebody barks an order in at you of what's going on. You go up to the terminal. Again, it's a lot of terminals this time around. Even holograms, even the people the people that you're working with on the Magellan, as we've seen out there, right? Talking to you through hologram form. And it becomes this very isolated loop, which of course is the whole point of Death Stranding, that it's supposed to be we're isolated as humanity and da-da-da-da-da. And I get all of that, but it didn't in terms of the grand scheme of it, it didn't drive home, I think, the narrative plot point to me of like, hey, we're all disconnected from each other and this is a problem, as much as it drove home like, oh, this is a cheaper, faster way to do a video game of this person's AI giving me the mission and me going off and doing it, rather than me coming back for the big Kojima cutscene that I'd expect, right? Of like, here they all are and they're talking, they're interacting. Because when they do that, there's still no one better. Every cutscene in this game that you actually get, I feel like, holy shit, that was art. Especially these late game ones, maybe even halfway through, where you really get cooking. Where I was like, damn, this is awesome. I wanted more of that, I guess, for this. And it left me feeling isolated, but I don't think in the isolated Death Stranding way. Isolated in the, it's just, I'm staring at Norman Reedus while we go deliver these packages to this person.
I find that fascinating because, like, I think the routine that you're talking about is part of what makes the experience for me. So to back up, I 1000% agree as far as like the Norman Reedus aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think as far as my biggest critiques for the game, I think Sam Porter Bridges is too quiet and too like he doesn't have much going on in terms of, I don't want to say the performances. I think Norman Reedus himself does a fine job, right? But I guess as far as character writing and who he is personality wise and all these things, and it'd be fine if it was like a silent protagonist situation where he was supposed to be an avatar of the character, or he's supposed to be an avatar for us, but it's not that. Like, there is so much story happening around Norman Reedus and to Norman Reedus in this game to where it's like, no, you should have a lot more going on emotionally and expressively. And even times where there are cutscenes where he, has a moment that's supposed to be like interesting or emotional, or he interjects in a way. Like, I find that stuff kind of awkward in ways. And he's the only character I have that with. Every other character is fucking awesome. Like, to the point of, like, you're talking about with like Kojima's delivering that Kojima shit that you want as far as cutscenes and all this stuff. But I think, dialing it back to what I was saying as far as routine, I think one of my, and I don't want to say struggles, because I honestly think this is like a really good problem to have, but one of the things I have with this game is that the gameplay loop and the routine of it wants you to exist in this world as a porter. It wants you to do the thing that you're talking about. All right, go to the facility, take in the order from the terminal, go walk a long distance and like struggle with the conditions of the environment, get to the next facility, deliver it, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again. Like, there are so many times where I'm pressing X to skip the cutscene of going up the elevator, or skip through the dialogue of like talking to the hologram, or do whatever. And I like that because I think routine helps to kind of cement that experience in a video game. But at the same time, I'm also somebody who's really interested in what's going on narratively. And so like, I ended up mainlining a lot of this game because I was so fascinated with the story, but I was also sad about mainlining at the same time because I also just want to exist in the world. Like, it's a really good thing to have where I'm like, oh damn, the gameplay and the story for me personally is like, are both separately so good, but they're kind of at odds with how I want to play the game because I just want to see what happens next.
Understandable.
So it sounds like, from hearing your perspectives on that, like, what could have we've seen more of, like, or situations that maybe Sam could have been in where we get more of those moments. Like, for me, one thing I'd like to have seen more of is like more interactions. I want the preppers to be able to feel like they're real people. Like, I still feel like they're like holograms, and it would have been cool to get to a point where we go further with them and see them outside of their environment.
Like a back and forth conversation.
Yeah, or like with Sam, like it made me think about something, because there's a few one-off interactions that he has with the crew of the Magellan, which awesome ship, by the way. I'm in love with the ship. I love all the sounds it makes. It's great. But there's like one-off conversations he has with some of the crewmates, and it's almost awkward when he tries to make a joke because he's not normally making jokes, but it's usually just me and Sam. So like Sam ain't gonna talk to me, the player. So maybe we don't get to see those interactions because of that. But I don't know what would have helped that situation. Like, what kind of situation would like to have seen him in to get more from Sam?
Let me pull one out here, okay? Gerald of Rivia super chats and says, Greg, how do the themes of the game affect you now that you have a child? Thank you for your great coverage. Of course, Lou, such a big part. Obviously, we all know the BB, and now we know Lou, and you can't get away from Lou. I think this is one of the disconnects from me and it being Norman Reedus and not Sam. Like, what could we have gotten more? I think there could have been more talking to Lou. There could have been more talking of being a father. There could have been more of an emotional resonance core there, where again it feels like it's Norman Reedus. Like, Norman Reedus has been told he has a baby. All right, great. That's what I'm gonna go do. Like, I feel like there wasn't enough struggle there, and that then breaks off into the all right, cool, something horrific has happened, or there's been a scare or whatever, and I'm just in my room sitting on my bed staring at the wall, like not acknowledging it. And they have things where they try to work around, again, the cast surrounding you, right? We haven't talked about Dollman, right?
Oh, yeah.
We know Dollman, who you've seen forever in these trailers or whatever, the little marionette puppet, right? That hangs from Sam's belt just like Mimir, right? But he also hangs in the room. So when you're in bed, you can turn and talk to him, and he'll say something or this. And I also think he talks too much in a lot. Like, sometimes when I'm getting my fucking ass handed to me, I got knocked down by a BT or some other boss thing. He's like, oh my God, Sam, you're bleeding. I'm like, I know I'm bleeding, Dollman. Thank you. Yes, the packs are working as fast as they work. I can't accelerate that. It's that kind of thing. But it's like, again, not to have that back and forth from him, I think is rough. And for as silent as he is as a protagonist, that then puts. I don't feel like he's silent because I'm projecting onto him. I feel like he's silent because he's got nothing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, Jerica mentions that it's us and Sam, right? But yeah, you often forget that Dahlman is there. And I think in the same way that we're referencing Mimir from God of War, like Kratos talks to Mimir. Mimir talks a lot to Kratos, right? Like there's conversations happening there. And I think there's a big emotional beat / theme of the game that centers around Sam Porter Bridges and like what he's going through in the moment of this game,
of course,
right? And like I think there's so much meat on the bone there that is maybe a little bit explored through Sam Porter Bridges, and maybe that's what they're doing through a lot of his like kind of quiet nature in it. But I think it would have been much better explored, having like more conversations with Dahlman, because to your point, like Dahlman speaks up, and Dahlman is very different from Mimir in the way that like I think Dahlman, he does the Kojima thing of he speaks up in mechanical like situations of, hey,
let me explain this thing you already know that's happening to you right now. I'm aware of what's happening, Dollman. Thank you.
Exactly. Like,
and that's the main thing is like my relationship with Dollman is I'm annoyed by him most of the time. I loved Mimir. I do not love Dollman.
It's funny because in this game they do a lot more of those music cues where you're making delivery and like as you're approaching it, like a song will pop up.
Fucking good.
Carolyn Polachek on the beach, right? But
thank you, Roger Picorni.
Thank you. Yeah. Special thanks, Roger Picorni. But they do that to like build up that emotion, but then also fill in the silence between some of these moments, right?
Yeah.
Like Dahlman is right there. Like I would have loved to hear a story from Dahlman, I think, and like they have that in the DHV Magellan sometimes, where he's a bit more casual with just having conversations.
But
with
see,
Sam.
this is the weird one too, or this is me wanting my cake and to eat it too, or whatever, right? Where it's like, I think the music cues work. I think when that pops up, that works really well because it usually is the game knows I'm setting off on something that's going to take me a second. So let's give you like this soundtrack has such a like clear through line of like what it all is, and like not all of it's my kind of music, but I guess the majority of it, because it's very somber, instrumental. I'm not a music guy, but metal, not metal like metal, but like sterile is what I would, I guess I would describe it, right? And so like when that shit kicks up and it's like low roars doing whatever, I'm like, this works for what I'm doing as I drive through this snowy landscape on this, truck that I've outfitted with snow tires, and I can go up like vertical slopes and all this shit because I'm just gonna fucking drive everywhere and do it.
Yep.
Like there's a push and pull to it that I don't know the right answer. I think it's more like I could have just gone for more cutscenes, more introspection, more seeing Sam struggle with what is going on, what he has to deal with here, rather than just be silent the entire way.
Yeah.
More cutscenes.
Yeah.
I don't think you get enough cutscenes until
I
the end.
agree. I agree.
I think we are as somebody who's at the end, right? Again, an hour and a half, like it literally was yesterday's multiple hours of it where I was like, oh, now it's a Kojima game. Yeah. Now we're there. And even then, they're not super long yet. While we're looking at this again, you mentioned this, and I just want to shout it out. They're not super long, like, sometimes where you put the controller down for Metal Gear 4 or 5, whatever. We're looking at a Higgs scene right now. Troy Baker out here doing his business. I know Troy Baker, obviously, he's a friend of mine, like a personal one. I think this might be my favorite Troy performance.
I agree.
100%.
And I mean, I'm saying that as somebody who loves Last of Us but like to see Troy be a villain and to see Troy go full into it and it be his face and all this, like he fucking rocks in this game.
It was one of the highlights of my whole experience is seeing Higgs in his space, and Troy bringing that to life was just insanely cool. Like it gives me goosebumps, like going back and like thinking about some of those scenes that he was in. And
again, I think I was seeing so much of him here at the back half, right? Where it's like now he's really doing the thing and he's really eating the scenery and he's being a dick and he's doing this thing and he's arguing and he's one upping him every.
It's so funny because in interviews, Kojima talked about Neil being that character who he sees as the Mads Mikkelsen role in this game, and like
because it's pretty much exactly the same. In terms of the setup of him and the soldier and the flaming head guys.
But in casting the actor for Neil, right, he was talking about wanting to get somebody that could like live up to that Mads Mikkelsen performance, and I'm like, Neil's great in the game, don't get me wrong, but like I'm like, bro, look at Troy Baker. Like he put on a performance in this thing that I think people are going to look back on and be like, yo, that was fucking sick. Remember this?
Yeah. But I think again, like that's the interesting thing too, is like it's so hard to play this, watch it, embody it, right, and then start really thinking about the behind the scenes of it, right? Because obviously it's Hideo Kojima and it's him bringing in all these celebrities and doing all these different things. But as I'm watching, I'm like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting as much Norman as last time. I wonder if that's a pricing thing, right? Elle Fanning's in here. Man, she's a pretty quiet character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Troy is fucking guitar man out there doing this shit and fucking doing accents and yelling and screaming. And it's like, oh, fuck, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
I'm sort of thankful it worked out that way if that's the case, because like those were definitely some of the best moments in the game.
And it's like Tarman talks so much, but of course it's just George Miller's face. It's not George Miller doing the things. I'm like, that makes sense as well. But so it's like, I don't know. It's like, that's one of the things of playing this game. And it's so interesting on two different experiences. Staying with me. I went two different lines. Now, it's not a joke. Don't worry. I'll make it fast, right? But I want to go to Superman in review, right? Where when we were doing Superman the movie and talking about all this, and I was telling all these behind the scenes stories leading up to it, I talked about how Dick Donner, the director of Superman, was like, Superman needs to be an unknown. Otherwise, if they wanted like, Robert Redford and Paul Newman, and like it would be Paul Newman in the Superman suit. It wouldn't be Superman. And I feel like that's a lot of the characters here, specifically Sam Porter Bridges, where I had such a hard time getting in line with what he was going through and where he was emotionally, because I don't think he was giving enough to me for it, but also the fact that it was just fucking Norman Reedus. It was just Norman Reedus with no bells and whistles, where even Troy looks like the Joker to some degree. And then you could glance and be like, he looks like the Joker, but his performance is so amazing that I think it takes away from whatever he looks like, right?
I would say, it's also, I'll bring in Lea Seydoux into the conversation, the actress who plays Fragile, where like it's in very stark contrast to Norman Reedus, where she brings such emotional depth and such personality and such like a different emotional like part of the spectrum than like what you see out of Troy Baker, because Troy's this extreme madman, but Fragile is this like emotional, like she kind of centers the story. Like in some ways I almost feel like she's even more of a main character than Norman Reedus sometimes, even though like 100% Norman Reedus, but like Fragile is for me the center of the story here.
She has, I think, way more, and she has three-dimensional space, more to do, and like she I think lives up to the task of delivering on that. I think when we get to the end of the year, we're talking about video game performances, like there's so much to highlight in this game, but I totally feel you as far as I don't think Norman Reedus is like one of those things to highlight, and that's not by the fault of Norman Reedus. I think maybe it is. I had the same thought of like availability, or you couldn't have him in the studio for that long. I do want to go back and talk about. Can I make one other point? Just
because
it's worthless, and if we don't do it, I won't do it. Superman. When we were doing in review, one of the things Nick called out in Superman 2 was that it's 2, right? Tim was talking about, I can't believe how intrinsically tied it is to 1. I think it's the same thing here. I thought it was interesting, Jerica, that you said you could recommend this to somebody without playing the first one, where I think like they're two halves of a whole, where it is like, I think without 1, I think you jump in and be like, what is the chiral network? What is it? Whereas we're all like, okay, got it. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Float and shadow people with umbilical cords. I'll go kill them. Don't worry. But it's like, I think this game does such a great job of being a continuation of Death Stranding 1. But, and I'd be interesting eventually for you, Jerica, on this topic. I played this and I was very much, before reading reviews today, like, yeah, it's Death Stranding, like whatever. And then so many people today talking about, oh, well, it's better, or, it's cleaned up and it's frictionless and it's done this, where this is what my rose-colored glasses of Death Stranding 1 were. I don't remember being frustrated by not having as many weapons or as many tools or as many things, but I know that they changed that in the PC director's cut we talked about. But before then, I want to jump back to you. Sorry.
Well, I want to bring it back to the conversation about the Kojima-ness of this game.
Sure.
That was one of the conversations that I remember having with you at lunch last week, where, it feels like, I remember one of the big criticisms out here from people with Death Stranding 1 around the review period was that, man, Kojima needs an editor. Like we gotta put some leashes on what this man is doing, as far as like how crazy we'll get with cutscenes and world and all this shit, right? This game felt like Kojima had an editor. Like this played completely like he had people that were like reeling him back a little bit. And like I felt that, but also I kind of liked it because we still got the crazy cutscenes, we still got the weird ass and cool ass story beats. We still got, I think, enough Kojima-ness out of it, but at the same time, like you want to talk about this being the direct sequel to Death Stranding 1. Like this is one of the few times, if not maybe like the first time on this level that Kojima's making a sequel that's straight up, all right, here's the game again, but better. Like with Kojima, you're always getting some kind of redefining. You're always getting it's a prequel this time, or it's a different character. Oh, it's he's old now. Like it's open world. Like there's always like some big shift in terms of one Kojima game to the next, even within the same series. Death Stranding 1 or Death Stranding 2 is Death Stranding 1 2. You know, it's a Death Stranding.
It's a part 2.
It's a part 2 that is doing the rare Kojima thing of just being able to look at all the feedback, look at everything and go, all right, let's make this better. All right, let's make this frictionless. Okay, let's maybe like edit down or pace out the cutscenes better so that you're not front loaded with all this shit. All right, let's make them maybe not as long. Like they don't have to be 1 hour long cutscenes. You know what I mean? Like at every corner of this game, it feels like the team looked at ways to make this more frictionless than the last,
100%.
and I fully felt that.
I want to hear about your comparison to the old Death Stranding director's cut. But first, I want to remind you we couldn't do this without your support on patreon.com/kindafunny, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, Apple and Spotify. That's where you can pick up the Kinda Funny membership to get all of our shows ad-free. And of course, get your daily dose of me in a series we call Greg Way. But right now, you're not using your benefits. So here's a word from our sponsors.
This episode's brought to you by Cash App. We've all had those moments getting meals out with people that always end in some kind of awkward experience of having to figure out the least complicated way to just get it done. Or even after figuring it out, have you used an app and ended up having to wait days for your money to finally show up? What if we could solve all of that easily? Cash App is a completely different experience, fast, easy, and safe, and a great way to receive and transfer money to family and friends. It's incredibly easy to set up. You just enter your phone or email and some other basic information, no bank account needed. And then there's no waiting around for days. It's your money, you shouldn't have to wait. We love using Cash App because it's fast, it's safe, and it just makes life way less stressful. For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, there's no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code KINDAFUNNY in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money, that's Cash App. This episode is brought to you by Mood. Let me tell you about the online cannabis company that's revolutionizing how we deal with life's challenges. From sleepless nights to stress-filled days, Mood.com has created an entire line of functional gummies that target specific health concerns with 100% federally legal THC blends. They'll deliver them discreetly right to your doorstep, and you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code KINDAFUNNY. I've been having a great time trying out all their different gummies, and I'm loving how each one feels. Their sleepy time gummies will knock you out in about 15 minutes flat. No hangovers, no grogginess, and their Epic Euphoria gummies are perfect for those days when nothing's going right. And best of all, not only does Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code KINDAFUNNY. So head to Mood.com, browse their amazing selection of functional gummies, and find the perfect gummy for whatever you are dealing with. And remember to use promo code KINDAFUNNY at checkout to save 20% on your first order.
And Jerica,
Yeah.
back to you.
So thinking back at the first game, like I was saying, like, this is my type of vibe. I don't mind walking around, exploring, being in the moment and taking cool pictures. But I went back and played Director's Cut because I've never played the Director's Cut of this game. So like I went back and played it a little bit before diving into 2, and immediately I was like, I was still having fun making deliveries and exploring this world. But I remembered, like, as I was playing through 2, why I sort of got a little bit more bored with Death Stranding 1. And it was because, and what finally hit with Death Stranding 2 is the change in environments, I think. And knowing that when I would get a mission, so instead of point A to point B through Iceland basically the whole time in Death Stranding 1, because I feel like the environment didn't change a whole lot other than when you got to go up a mountain like once or twice for this mission, and then you left it. But in Death Stranding 2, to me, I feel like the environment, so obviously it's way larger, but as soon as I'd get a new mission to go to a new spot, or the direction was a new outpost that I hadn't been to yet, was always super exciting to me. And that's where the hook started really getting me in. Like, I want to go to the next location, the next prepper. I want to meet them and see what they have. And that journey for that mission, like, took me to a new environment or introduced me to a new, a river that wasn't just, it was a creek a sec ago, but now it's like a overflowing river. Cause like
changing waters.
The weather and like the night and day cycle, like, really up the ante when it comes to like making sure that you're not, I feel like I said in the first one, it gets real repetitive. The game is repetitive, but I think the environments and the choices they make here in the second one make it way more, even encourages you to go explore more because there's just so much to look at.
The world feels like way more alive in this one. I think a lot of that is like all the weather system stuff that you're talking about, right? Where if it sometimes when it rains, the water levels in the rivers will rise, which changes how you need to navigate the environment because a ladder might not work to get you across that river. You might need a bridge this time, which I think is really smart. You have like sandstorms and stuff that'll come through and like, create a way more aggressive environment. Like all that shit I think is so fucking cool. Like I remember it was probably halfway through the game where, well, there's early on in the game where there's a sandstorm, but then like halfway through the game, there was like another natural sandstorm. It's not like a scripted thing. Like it's a thing that just happens.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to drive through the sandstorm.
See what happens.
It's directly in my path for where I'm trying to go. And it was like a harrowing, like, oh man, this reminds me of driving in like a bad storm in real life. Like whenever you have that experience of like, okay, well, everything's going to be fine, even though my heart's kind of beating a little bit. I was having those experiences in this game. And I think technically one of the coolest things I've seen in this game are when there are these gate quakes that happen, which are essentially earthquakes, but they're caused by, I believe, the plate gates
Yes.
that are popping up.
You'll learn more about those when you play.
Yeah. Plate gate, that's how you get to Australia, but
Don't worry
about it. But the gate quakes happen, and like they're earthquakes that happen, sometimes. But then every now and then you'll see like a gatequake happen, and then a piece of the mountain, like there'll be an avalanche on the mountain that'll happen naturally, or like if you're in a big snow area, you'll see like a snow avalanche, or you'll see things fall and topple over, and that feels like technically such a step forward in AAA video games. Like it's like I don't see shit like that often. That happens like naturally in the environment.
When I had a quake, the first quake I had when I was climbing a mountain, I was like, oh, I wonder if this will cause an avalanche. And Dom was like, oh my God, it's an avalanche. Like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like ran off and like got behind a rock and just let it plow past me. And I was like, that's a nice touch of like, oh, that's cool that this is happening, so this should happen, and then it actually happens. Like, damn, that world does feel alive. It is stuff.
Yeah.
And back to it of like, there's animals running around in this world, right, of
Yeah.
Australia that you're supposed to capture for one of the sanctuaries that I believe the sanctuary people, well, I probably shouldn't say anything about that. But it's like, I don't think that's a spoiler, but I want to save that reveal for yourself or whatever. But there's animals to capture, and there's all these different things. The environments do change. The weather, whether it be a sandstorm or a timefall storm or whatever, night and day, like you're talking about. Like, there is enough going on that I think when I reviewed Death Stranding 1 with everybody back in the day, I kept saying, this is a meditative game for me. I distinctly remember being in a snowy area and being in Quebec City, playing it with snow outside falling, right? And it was like and it was just me, get the package and go deliver the package. And I think, for me, it's so fascinating because I would never, even though it is, I would never describe the gameplay as repetitious because I think all gameplay is. You can only do so much in a video game. So of course I'm swinging my sword. That's, repetition after 30 hours. But the very nature of it, I mean, I would describe this, everything that surrounds getting to the gameplay is repetitive, which I think again is on purpose for what they're trying to set up. I do think there'd be ways to make that less frictionless. Like when I want to skip the fucking cutscene of putting it in to deliver it to the guy, don't make me hit the button and then it goes resume or skip. I'm like, no, let me skip or whatever. And then every time the guy, the hologram guy, oh, thanks, Sam. Let me check what you did. Wow, they're in pristine condition. I'm like, all right, skip. I don't need this part of this. You know what I mean? Anyways, though, the gameplay itself doesn't, and that is the joy of this game. It's very much the same thing of why I didn't want to rush through it, why I wanted to go see it. I'll beat it this afternoon, but it's going to be one that lives on my PlayStation because there's going to be those nights I was just like, damn, I got 15 minutes. Oh, let's do a delivery. Let's run it off. Let's see how I didn't finish this side quest. Let's see how this.
Some of them pay off in bigger ways this time around. So like, I'm not going to get into like specifics with it, but I ended up doing a mission and that just went in a totally different direction than I was envisioning and was such a fun surprise. And there's like a couple of things in there that like are
I can envision the one that you might be talking about.
And I just wonder if there's more of those moments that maybe I've skipped over.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking of.
Have you seen this one?
There's multiple of those ones, right?
Oh,
yeah, but the payoff to that.
yeah.
I guess not.
Can I show it
shit
to you?
was
I'm not going to
wild.
play audio, but you have such a good live reaction face that I'd love to see you do this one.
I'm so fascinated because is that like you complete all of those orders?
I wanted more of that.
So you haven't seen this?
No, I've not seen this. Oh, I like that hat you're wearing.
Well, that's the goofy fucking hat or whatever, right? To make it go. So,
I've not seen this.
So this, again, to your point, Jerica, right? Of like, I finished this one, and this is again where I was like, oh, thank God I did all these, because this is like one of my moments of the fucking game.
What the fuck?
Right? and Nick watched this and he's like, this is insane. I'm like, this is the game. It's like, this is like the coolest shit. And the fact that this is hidden behind just a side quest to go do that, you want to talk about like,
That's fucking awesome.
me wanting to go see every one of these. Like, as soon as I got this, I was like, oh, well, I have to prioritize going and doing all these, because what else is hidden?
Exactly.
underneath
Oh
this
my
stuff?
god. Have you played a specific song for Dollman?
No.
Oh.
I haven't. I missed.
right.
Okay.
Y'all got to talk to Dollman more in the DH.
That-
I did. I talked to him a
I
lot.
believe.
He told me he didn't want to talk to me anymore. He didn't have anything else to
Damn,
say.
it's crazy.
If you think I didn't screen grab this and I won't be using this
Jesus.
ad nauseum from here on out.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And like, that's again, like the power of what they have here. And again, what I think, like, you know, as you guys are the reviews that matter. You've rolled credits and done all this stuff. And as I finish
You're an hour
here,
and a half away from rolling credits.
I know. But I mean, like, and not only that, but it's also like, I also love some distance from it. You know what I mean? Of like the run up to this, playing as much as I can, doing all this different stuff, trying to get it. Like, if there's more experiences, like, I think, because this won't be done in an hour and a half. If it turns out that there's more of this happening in the world,
Yeah.
that's when I'm like, damn, there's so much more I want to go see, and so much I want to go experience and do and have, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes the game special. I also think something's interesting that we haven't talked about at all in this review, but we talked so much about it in the 2019 review, is collaborating with others. And I think this comes as a double-edged sword for us as reviewers. When we've had code, since Switch 2 launch week, which is why I'm way behind. Had to go to SGF, had to do Switch 2 coverage. But when that came, that we were given 2 weeks where all the people playing are, you know, building the bridges. Here I'm setting up my charging station, all this different stuff, building out this world together, as you will when you get this game if you connect it online, which I assume you would and you should, right? Just like Death Stranding 1 was. And I think there's so many things there that have been upgraded and tweaked and more frictionless. And I was shocked by even our little reviewer pool, the amount of things that were built out there, whether they be bridges or ladders or drops or signs or this, right? This past week, it's been off. And so like for me playing, and I know you beat it.
I think I beat it before it went off then.
For me playing and really putting in the hours, it's gone from the opening and all these opening areas, just a bevy of things and whatever. And now it's just dead quiet.
No way.
So it's only me building my own. I'm like,
that's tough.
It's very depressing.
I'm carrying the PCC with me. Throw it down. I need a charging station here on this mountain or whatever. And so I'm so excited to see that come back online with everybody tonight and have a far different experience, I think, playing, because one of the things we talked so much about in the original review was Andy saying, oh, you got to be online for this. It's such a better experience to see this. And even in the beginning here where it was like, oh, Yang Ye built this station. Thanks, Yang. You know what I mean? Like that little thing. Granted, it won't always be like that because, you know, we're going to see strangers out there.
That's so funny because, like for the second half of the game, the social stuff became so key for me where I look at a destination and I'm like, ooh, all right, that's tough terrain. Should I drive a truck? And I'll look at the map and see that somebody built a generator in the perfect spot. And I'm like, that's perfect for battery. All right, we're going. Like I can actually do this.
Yep.
And like there was some big like later game parts where I'm like, all right, fuck, I got a big delivery to make, and it really was online stuff that really pulled it together for me, like being able to make some of those deliveries. And so
I found myself doing more of that this time. Like usually I'm just the one liking stuff. Like, thank you, I'm lazy, I don't have time to build this. But this game I was looking for more opportunities, not because like we were obviously reviewing it and getting to it before other people are playing, but really I saw more opportunities to help. Just because of the different types of environments, and you know, there's like one area that you go to that's just like these like I don't know what they're called. I'm not a geologist, but it's some kind
Rocks.
of rock towers, like, and you're having to like get up and around them.
stalagmites,
Yeah, that sounds right.
stalactites.
Yeah,
I think stalactites hold tightly to the ceiling.
One makes
whichever ones come from the ground. Like
tights, I think, make the T on the ceiling. So
okay, there we go.
They're the stalactites.
But there's just a lot of different types of ways you have to get around the terrain to where I see more opportunities to help. Like someone might go this way like I did.
Yep.
Let me put the generator right here. So I did find myself doing more of that during my playthrough.
Yeah, again, I'm excited tonight to see that all come online, and I hope it keeps the stuff we already built as reviewers, so we see where other people are putting it. Because there were plenty of times where it was like, damn, I could really use something. And early on, it was everywhere. It was everywhere, and that's why it was even easier, I think, to use vehicles and do all this different stuff.
Did you guys try to set up the monorail?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. early on, yes, because other people were contributing.
Yes.
Later on, when it's
It's
just
like,
me, it's like it needs all these. And I'm like, I guess technically I could drive to all these different places and get my resources that I've left at or I've earned at all these places. But I was like, no, I gotta get going. I gotta move on.
Yeah.
I tried to make it happen because like the game starts to send you back and forth a little bit. I was like, oh man, it'd be really nice to do this, but yeah, it's just a lot of material. And like for in my review brain, I was like, all right, I just gotta trot forward. But I do love the idea. One of my favorite things in games is to see a system set up for people with more potential than me.
Yeah.
Of
Where like
course.
when I first like got to the mines and I was like, oh, this is purely for generating resources, and the monorail will help you transport resources from place to place. Oh, that's for like the top tier player.
Yeah.
Like that's not for me because I'm not thinking about resources on that level. I do the resource stuff when I can. Like if I see some chemicals or some fucking like ceramics just out and about, I'll pick them up. I'll put them in my DHC Magellan for safe storage for when I need them. But I love the prospect of when the game is out for everybody, probably seeing YouTube videos or TikToks or whatever of people doing crazy shit as far as like what they're building in Death Stranding 2, because I think the mines are going to enable that by a lot.
1,000% too, and I'll be interested to see. You know, I thought one of the cool things that they added here was these teleporters. You know what I mean? When you put down your PCC, you can use these teleporters to teleport to certain situations, which again, frictionless. Let's make it easier. What were people's complaints? Of course, you can't take your cargo with you, but I could easily see it of psychos like Jericho or people who are just playing it for the first time, be like, you know what? Tonight I'm only going to go to the mines and just work on the streets and just do this thing, and you know.
And I can't wait.
Yeah.
Just dying to do that.
One thing I want to compliment is the like art direction and like overall like visual design of the game. Like Yojo Shinkawa has been a long time collaborator with Kojima, and like we know him for the art of Metal Gear and all that stuff. I think he continues to kill it here. Like obviously a lot of this is taken from Death Stranding 1, but I will forever be impressed when I'm looking at Sam Porter Bridges and I see like him, I see like, you know, a package hanging off the left arm, another one off the right arm, like, you know, shoes dangling, you know, big old backpack full of things that are stacked up on top of each other. And it all looks so like it all looks, I guess, like, I don't know if industrial is the word I'm looking for, right? But like it looks made for a job. It looks made for this is like this
has
person's,
purpose.
like purpose, right? But it also looks cool at the same time.
Yeah,
like
it's
it has,
workwear.
yeah, it's
Cool.
workwear.
It's trendy.
But it like has a visual distinction to it that I really fuck with. And there's that, and then also like the Higgs / like the robot or cyber samurai guy that keeps popping up. Like I fucking love looking at that shit.
What a
Yeah.
spectacle. Like all the cutscenes with this and going towards like when you start approaching the end, like I'm just strapped in and ready to go. And to the point where I'm like, some things I know this might go over some people's heads, but to the point like it almost moved me to tears because it just was so badass. Like I never had something so badass like move me to tears. It was a weird emotion.
Hell yeah.
It was different.
I love it.
I want to get to the gajillion super chats we have, but I want to end, I guess, with this one question topic. Where are we at with Hideo Kojima games and boss fights with Death Stranding 2? I feel like, you know, we are also here on the precipice of Metal Gear Solid Delta coming out. Oh, the end. Oh, you know, Metal Gear Solid. Oh, Vulcan, Raven, Psycho Mantis, boss. Like the pantheon of amazing boss battles you get out of Hideo Kojima games. But from the previous ones, Death Stranding 1, I remember being like, oh, fighting BTs, especially the big ones where it fills up and I jump from bus top to bus top, never that interesting. I don't remember anything really beyond that got me. And then playing this one, I'm in the same boat of just like, the combat for me isn't the thing in Death Stranding. It is better, sure, but it is still like, I don't know if it's better. One of the other letdowns for me was like, we talked, I know this is very top level, but like, Neil's just like Mads Mikkelsen. So you already know what the Mads Mikkelsen's fights were like. These fights I feel are the same thing. I'm just like, this isn't that interesting or enjoyable. The carrot at the end of the stick is getting to the cutscene to find out what is going on. What the fuck is going on? I like that part of it. But the actual gameplay of it, not feeling with it, nor am I challenged by it. Then the big stuff here where fight a big bad, it's also like, these aren't, okay, shoot red weak point. I got it. Like, you know, it's like, I don't feel like, these are ones I'd rather see as a really cool cutscene than me get in here and have I feel stilted fight with a giant thing.
For me, it's the gameplay versus the spectacle of it, because I think spectacle-wise, the boss fights are like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Like I think the Neil stuff in terms of the environments they put you in and the situations and like the visuals of it are all the way there. And
That's
I
cool.
fucking love
The visuals
it.
are cool, yeah.
But yeah, then like you get into the actual gameplay, and it really is point and shoot, which does bring me back a bit to I think Metal Gear Solid 4. I know the Beauty and the Beasts might have had like their own unique things going on, but I think I think this is most similar to that as far as
I
like
agree with that.
a lot of the Beauty and the Beasts were just fucking shoot them, right? And like chase after
This
them.
one's
and do their
flying.
thing. Yeah.
This one's got tentacles.
And I mean, I think there's a larger conversation to have about Kojima and Kojima boss fights, because I still think that like overall, I think he delivers for what I want out of them and my taste for them. But I do think time has passed him a little bit. I do think mechanically, like there's got to be a little bit more going on in these things. I think gameplay wise, like you might have to think. It's crazy to think that like Kojima needs to think out the box, right? But I think I think gameplay wise, like I could see it. I totally understand where you're coming from. Even though spectacle wise, I think he's still top tier. I think he's still there.
That is why I'm at a 9.5 and not out of 10.
Yeah.
Is some of the combat and some of the interactions that you have, like to your point, really. I was looking for more like environmental, like situations that I've had to figure out to destroy a boss.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's,
versus
like,
it's
the
just
end,
me.
right?
Yeah, versus me just trying to shoot this thing as much as I can. Absolutely despise the BT battles. Don't like them. I hate being in the tar. Slows me down. It's a horrible feeling. And really not too much evolved from those type of fights in the second game. But yeah, you make a good point, and I think because this whole set, that it's like a set piece, it's a movie, why won't he take more advantage of the environments? And like it's so pretty and that was really cool, but like yeah, I'm just shooting the boss over and over, so that didn't win me over either.
And again, this is the push and pull of
Yeah.
cake and eat it too, where it's like on the one hand, this is it. Every time before I set off on a mission, I'm so particular about what I'm picking. Do I need this? I'm never gonna need a climbing thing. I'll do that, blah blah blah. Then boss fights, you get into them, and it's like I don't find this that engaging or interesting. And then there's just machine guns and grenade launchers all over the ground.
Yeah.
Which of course is good because I'd be annoyed as hell to be in this boss fight and only have like my rope. But then on the other hand, it's just like, well, why am I doing this? Like this isn't. Again, this is taking me away from the gameplay I actually like, but I feel like they're building a game that's trying to appeal to everyone all at once, even though they say they're not.
And I think I also think thematically they're trying to lean more into like the sticks as opposed to the ropes, right? I think this game
there's a big multiple reviews call out the fact that that's a direct line, right?
Yeah, like they love talking about sticks and ropes, and
Yeah,
they love
yeah.
leading in. I think in this game, one of the taglines to it is "Should we have connected?" And I remember doing the Kojima interview for the preview, and he talked about like the over the pandemic and with the state of the world and stuff, right? Like he kind of had the personal realization of like, oh, maybe we need more sticks. Like maybe we should lean more towards sticks than ropes sometimes, which is a scary thing for him to say. But also like I think part of that kind of lends itself to why there's like more actiony stuff going on in this game. Why there's more shooty shoot. But yeah, I would have loved to your point. I think I would have loved to see more outside the box thinking as far as like, you know, when I think about my favorite Kojima boss fights, I think about Psycho Mantis, right? Which was like,
of course.
you know, having to figure out like, oh, unplug the thing, replug it. And then the end, which is way more cerebral and maybe more of a sniper battle and having to track him down and doing all that stuff. I think those are when he shines the most, when he can figure out a new way to like make us think about gameplay. But yeah, like most if not all the boss fights here are, just chase and shoot, and it's not as interesting.
I want to get some super chats in. This is our chance to answer your questions based on all the reviews you're seeing of Death Stranding 2 today. Of course, youtube.com/kindafunnygames. I see Wiener says, is Raj in the credits?
I don't believe so. I don't remember seeing Roger's name.
I haven't rolled them yet. So
I guess I didn't really like pay
there's
attention.
a lot,
Yeah,
so
if
yeah, I
there's a
didn't see
special
it.
thanks in there, nobody knows, so we'll figure out one for you.
I would assume not. They would have to reach out to Roger to put him in the credits, right?
I don't think
For a
so.
special thanks.
No. Maybe? No. I don't know.
This is in big letters, kind of funny. Really list all of us that were all in the credits.
Remember that one time where he was like, I think it was in one of the podcasts here, where he just called him like a foreigner. He just thinks a foreigner. How die doot 1E? How similar are the controls and menus to Death Stranding 1?
I think the biggest change is the Audrey deck button to scan is on L1, instead of
Yeah.
R1.
Oh.
That fucked me up for a long while
Yeah.
playing this game. But they do, I think they improved the menu system, like the in-game menu system. Now D-pad is responsible for bringing up multiple types of menus. Like you have like your little wheel that you'll use to rotate of like, all right, I want to look at weapons, I want to look at grenades, I want to look at items or whatever. And I think that's I like that as an
100%.
It was easier definitely in those combat encounters, just having that sort of simplified and separated. And then one thing I would wish, like, because like one thing that also threw people off was just like how many things you have to micromanage, and like when you are picking up cargo, like where is this going? I do wish there was like a capture all button, and maybe y'all correct me. I couldn't select all, but I could select all, but I couldn't like put it all in a different spot. Or when you're picking up cargo, there was a thing that I'm like, why can't I pick up all of these at once and put it here?
Oh, I see.
And like you can, but you also can't. Like
I feel like if you you're saying if like a bunch of things are on the ground.
Yeah.
I would assume that if you press pause and go to cargo management, but I guess I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's like some small nitpicky things like that. But overall, like it's really easy to manage. I'm still using that auto. Like they added the auto arrange feature where I use that all the time.
And they added it just in one of the circle menus. So you press like left D-pad and hit a direction.
You can have like a shortcut, to it.
Yeah,
it's handy.
Adem 2 times. How does it feel delivering packages? Do BTs screw you every 10 minutes like in Death Stranding? I love the story so much, but that element let me down a tad. Has any of that been improved/changed?
I didn't feel like it was that often in the first game, but maybe I'm wrong, but you definitely don't feel that in this one. Because, it's been a long time since I played the first one, but I don't feel like that's over every 10 minutes. And then also it might depend on the day and night cycle too, and what's going on in that region. Yeah,
again, I don't enjoy fighting BTs. I felt like I saw them, and again, I'm trying to remember a 2019 game, but I felt like I saw them far fewer times than I did in Death Stranding 1. And in the same vein, back to this, like, bringing down the difficulty or making it too frictionless, timefall was also never a concern for me. I don't know if that was for y'all, where it's like, I like drove by backtracking out of a space last night, and it was like, from the very beginning, here's a timefall shelter, and it's like, I haven't used that once here. No. And I remember in Death Stranding 1 it being a legitimate fear of like, oh shit, it's raining, I gotta go. But here it just never did. I think they've lessened how that really hurts.
I agree with that.
Jeremy P has a question that sounds spoilery, but I don't think it is. So excited for Death Stranding 2. Not sure if you can discuss this, but is there a post-game chapter where you can wrap up side content after the story like in Death Stranding 1? Also, any plans for a spoiler cast later on? Spoiler cast, all options are on the table, and that's a great idea. We'll probably end up doing that, I would imagine.
To keep it spoiler free, I'll say you can keep playing the game after you finish it.
Good enough. Demon Hacker says, any changes made to zip lines? Loved zipping. I never zip line.
Oh, really?
I'm a big zip liner.
I'm not a zipper, man.
I fuck with the zip line.
Yeah.
No, I've never. Even in Death Stranding 1, I was like, nah, I don't fuck with this.
Really?
Yeah.
In the first one, could you like use the monorail? Like, what is that extra zip line? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't remember, because you can grab a monorail like zip line and use that. If you have another zip line, you can actually zip to that. I don't know if you can do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's an extra way of zipping around.
Interesting.
But I can't think of anything.
I feel like they work a lot.
You can change like the trajectory of the zip line itself. Like it can now curve or go up or down.
No way, really?
Yeah, because you can change the way it goes around. So like if there's a mountain here, I can go over there.
Oh, that's super cool.
Around,
it's funny because I never built zip lines. I just always used the zip lines that were there for me.
Yeah.
And so that's actually really good to know.
Yeah. Zip lines.
Danny in the middle of the live chat says, how the fuck did Greg even play Death Stranding 1? So many things he didn't interact with. What do you mean? Like that? We just talked about how this whole game is play it how you want to play it. I just
playing like a regular Joe.
I played it like I wanted to walk
everywhere.
around. I didn't want to use my resources on zip lines. It's pretty simple, actually.
Damn.
These resources I'm protecting. All right, I'm using them on my shit. I was listening to the review. I got scolded by Fran and Andy because they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm putting resources into the streets." And something like, I never fucking do that. I use them, but I don't use them. He's like, "Oh, Andy's like, you're that take a penny, leave a penny guy, but you don't never leave a penny."
For real, I'm like, anytime I see a request for like a structure or whatever, I'm always fulfilling it if I can.
Bobby Joe, bless. Did they actually change anything from the game demo y'all took part in?
The one thing I noticed was when I don't know if this is a change or if maybe this is like a different part of the game, but like in a boss fight I was doing during the preview, when I died, it would give me the menu to like revive or like try it again or whatever. And in the game, and during a boss fight I died, and it put me into like the repatriate thing of like swim back to
and-
Sam or whatever, and like do the baby thing, and then that's how you. So I think that was the only difference I really noticed. One thing I will say, this isn't related to the question, but we've had like the trailers and stuff playing throughout the like the episode as B-roll.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of spoilers in these trailers.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
I almost texted you last night because it was like we're coming up finally at like hour 39 of where I was going to see the trailer they ran at, or the scene they ran at SGF. And I was like, why the fuck did they show this at SGF?
No reason for them to show that at SGF. That was crazy.
Yeah. Jackie M, we'll start with you, Jerica. How much more time do you expect to put into Death Stranding 2?
Easily, I think 20 to 40 more hours, I think
Wow.
is easy, just because of like how much side content I didn't do, and I want to see how those play out. And then, yeah, I'm going to get in there and put my zip lines up. I'm so ready.
Bless?
Man, it's tough for me because it's so tough for me to play games after I've rolled credits.
Sure.
I would like to play more just because like I think there's still a lot of meat left on the bone, the phrase of the day. But also I kind of want to start the altars, and so
Yeah.
we'll see.
yeah.
I could see myself playing like 10 more hours if I dedicate myself to picking it back up.
Yeah, I'll be this afternoon after Kind of Funny podcast, and then it's going to be another one of those best intentions where it's like,
Yeah.
I remember with Death Stranding 1 where I was like, I could see me platinuming this. And then, of course, a million other reviews carry you away and you never get back to it. It's the same thing here where it's like, man, I want to see all these side missions through. I want to see what other people are building tonight. But it would be interesting to come back to it because I really do feel like I'd come back and then it would be like, cool, I'm warping all over the map. I'm using, you know what I mean? I'm not playing it the way I've played these 40, whatever, 2 hours will be when I beat it. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if I don't know. I would love to do that. I would love to sit here and platinum it, but I'd imagine I got to get back to other stuff and go play other things. But then I'm,
Fantasy Li-Fi.
No. Yes. I mean, yes. Of course I want to get back to Fantasy Li-Fi. I need to finish Pokemon now that the Switch 2 update's out. You know what I mean?
Which one is that again?
I was Violet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I need to finish Link's Awakening as well because I'm like, 2 dungeons short on that now from the Switch review stuff we were doing. But then beyond that, of course, I need to do Expedition 33. I feel like I'm in the place right now where I'm ready to go tackle that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So there's too much to play right now,
Good
right?
one.
Kobe writes in on a super chat and says, without any in-depth details, would you say the game is bleaker and hopeful, or more of a pessimistic view of the world compared to the first?
Bleaker and hopeful. I think
That's what you're saying, or are you reading it?
I'm trying to
you trying to
understand what you.
I don't know.
I think he already knows it's bleaker, but is he saying it's hopeful,
Oh,
or is it more pessimistic?
I don't want to comment. I don't want to, because
Okay.
I feel like I ruined some of it.
I'll say right now where I'm at, I feel... Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's weird. It's a weird one to talk
Weird.
about in that sense.
Because I don't know, whatever you're feeling through your journey, you don't want to know at the end if I think it's going to be more bleak or more hopeful.
Yeah.
And obviously for people who have finished it already. Tavin says, I just got the plat in Death Stranding 1. Requires me to play hard mode late game, and I enjoyed it. Should I start in hard mode for 2? How is normal mode in terms of difficulty and cargo and structure degradation?
Ooh.
As I've been saying this entire review, I think the game is incredibly easy and almost maybe to a detriment. So I would say, yeah, if you enjoyed hard mode on the first one, do that.
I agree with that.
I'm wanting to turn it up a notch myself. So
Yeah. Gene says, does Detroit Rock City play when we fight Troy? No spoilers. No spoilers on what music
But I
will
do want to
be playing.
definitely shout out the soundtrack. The licensed music is so fucking good.
It was definitely one of those of like, you have your little player that you can go in and put
Yeah.
songs in. I'd put them on it and then I'd go to Spotify.
Yeah.
Follow that
Yeah.
artist and put them on my real playlist too.
Right.
So I'd be all set to do. Icy Wiener says, can you speak to how female characters are treated? This is a conversation that I've seen, obviously, as the discussion and discourse begins today.
Yeah, this is a fun one because like a lot of my immediate group of friends don't love Kojima games because they don't love the depiction of female characters oftentimes in Kojima games, which I think is very understandable, especially when you look at like Quiet and like, oh, she dresses like that 'cause she breathes through her skin, right? Like that's the meme that flows around in my friend group, and like it's funny because I don't want to defend it because I'm like, well, I think that's genuine and I think that's authentic, and like, you know, if you feel that way, you feel that way, right? But I'm also like, having played all the Metal Gear Solids, I'm like, oh, but like there's some really good female characters in Metal Gear Solid 2, but also I totally understand where you're coming from. I think in this in this game, and I want to hear Jerica's answer more than my answer, honestly, so I'll answer quick. I really like the core cast of women in this game. In fact, I like their vibe and I like their presence more than Norman Reedus.
I agree with that.
But Jerica, what do you think?
I totally agree. And if anything, they're put on. I don't want to get into this because I like the surprise of it to see how these friendships evolve. But like they're put on a pedestal and they're sort of like definitely one of the bricks of the narrative of why things are happening. So yeah, I think all the women in this game have something very important they're working through, and just like it's everyone talking through emotions and grief and how humans sort of overcome that and find partnerships. So that's all I'll say. But yes, I think Fragile's role has been elevated, and I can't wait for you to see how that evolves with the other characters.
Yeah.
It's good. I think even Sam's jealous of some of his friendships have come out of on the ship.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's like always making comments like, "Oh, I wish I could join
There's
in."
like such a third wheel vibe
He's a
to a lot
third
of
wheel,
different things,
yeah.
which are cute and like again,
Yeah.
like really great
It's
in
neat.
terms of what it is.
Yeah.
Kebabs writes in and says, per Steve Saylor, accessibility is not great? Question mark. Well, if Steve's saying that, I believe Steve.
Yeah, agreed.
I have not done.
Well, I haven't delved in those settings, but like I definitely agree with him.
My dog Nick 96 says, would you say the trailers have spoiled anything?
The trailers, yes.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, in the
I
first
think it's-
game.
Is it spoiled anything, or is it just laid out these breadcrumbs that, like, when you're playing something and they introduce somebody, you're like, oh, I know that person because I've seen them.
I think it's because of the nature of Death Stranding, like everything is so weird and like you really don't know what you're seeing until you have context around it. So like if you've not touched the game, I don't think the trailers are necessarily spoiling anything for you. But like for me, watching SGF and being like 20 hours into the game, watching that cutscene, I was like,
Whoa.
oh, interesting.
Even stuff they were showing here, I was like, haven't seen that yet, so I can imagine I'm about to see that.
I like there's nothing and once y'all play the game, you'll understand. There is nothing I understand less than why they showed that scene at SGF.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre scene to show, especially knowing all the other scenes you could have shown at SGF. That would have been way more hype. That would have been way less like spoilery. Yeah, it's a weird one.
We'll see. David N. Superchat says, I never finished Death Stranding 1, but I want to jump into 2. Would the story recap videos do a good job to catch me up based on what you've seen in Death
Find
Stranding 2?
something else on YouTube. I think the one they do in the game's really short.
Who is it?
I don't just
I thought you
find
said find something else like a channel. Sorry.
Yeah, find like another video like recapping.
IGN's done a bunch, I know.
There you go.
I think
Just something that's a little bit more lengthier. But yeah, I think you definitely could get more from the story than the little snippet they give you at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch out there right now.
Yeah.
I think you'd be, and yes, I think you could do that and be fine. I think it would give you a setup of what this is, who these people are, what's going on with the BB.
Yeah, I can't find the one. There was one I watched before the preview I did that like did a really good job, and I can't find it in real time. But honestly, you're probably fine watching any of the ones that are there. And then like in addition to that, maybe watch the one in the game itself, just as like a final like layer of defense to like reinforce that. But you'll be fine. You got the corpus also.
And our final super chat for right now is from Christopher, who says, "Bless, go play the altars right now."
Dude, what interest do you have in the altars, Gregory?
Everybody says, Greg, you love clones and all stuff, and it'd be a really cool thing to do. And then it's the management part. When it looks like Fallout Shelter, I'm like, that's where you'd lose me right
A lot
there.
of that.
I do not want to do that whatsoever.
You love clones?
I love clone stories, yeah.
Like which ones?
I mean, Con-El, of course, Superman's clone.
Oh.
Half his DNA is Superman, half his DNA is Lex Luthor. That's Superboy right there. We got a stew going on.
God.
Fair enough.
What do we got in terms of closing thoughts on Death Stranding 2, Jerica?
I'm so glad it exists. I think it does push the envelope in a lot of different ways, which Kojima's known for. But that's why I'm glad it exists, because I think there's things that can be influenced by this game. And then, I've been reading his book, The Creative Gene, while sort of playing this game. And he's just put so much of his inspirations, whether it's from books, movies, TV. Obviously, we know that he's a fan, but he has just put so much of this into Death Stranding 1 and 2. So it's sort of cool to see how that all came to be in his perspective. But yeah, like he's pushing the boundaries in a lot of cool ways, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And yeah, Death Stranding 2, so far one of my favorite games of the year.
Wow.
And once again, it made me cry a little bit, a couple times, and then that one scene was just so badass that I cried.
Yeah.
Hell
You'll have to see when you get to that part, it's good.
Bless?
Yeah, I agree with Jerica as far as like it's up there as one of my favorite games of the year. Like this is for sure a contender for me, and like I think a guaranteed lock in my top 10 list. And I think even more so, I think it's up there for Kojima's games. Like I would have to sit and
Wow.
really think about it because every Metal Gear Solid is like really special to me in different ways. But
Yeah.
I think Death Stranding 2 really lives up as a Kojima game as far as what it's delivering gameplay wise, what it's delivering story wise, like what it's doing at this point of his career as like, you know, he's been such a staple over decades and still is cooking up new ideas and doing really cool, interesting, and different things that I think do actually work.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you have any interest in Death Stranding 2, definitely go play it, especially if you played the first one. If you really didn't like the first one, then I don't know if this is gonna be the one, but like yeah, if you're interested, pick it up, play it.
Yeah, this is a great game. I can't wait to finish it this afternoon. I can't wait to play more after that. And more than anything, I'm just so happy that Hideo Kojima gets to go make weird shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again, like the headline from Games Daily last week, right, of him and Woodkid, and Woodkid being like, it tested too positively, right? Like, I love the idea that this is out there and you're already seeing a smattering of opinions running the scale on what it is, and then these think pieces of really what it was and how people connected with it and where it went. I love that he's making that kind of art, and I think it's, you know, fascinating to play a game where you really get, and this isn't for everybody, but for me in particular, like, you get more the more you put into it. Like, I'm getting more out of this the more I put into it and more I want to go do it and what I want to go investigate. So a great game for sure. 9.5, and then a tentative 8 or 8.5 from me, maybe more. We'll see tomorrow when I think we're doing a What You've Been Playing, where I can finalize my review score for the one, the only Death Stranding 2 on the beach. But ladies, gentlemen, and bees, if you love Death Stranding 2 or think you will, we have so much more Death Stranding 2 content for you. Of course, Friday, it is the Jabronis doing their stream. Roger and Mike are doing another walk-a-thon marathon stream where they have a treadmill. A bunch of different surprises. They will start playing on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames after the Gamescast on Friday. They will then play as long as you want. They are already saying, can they make it past Kinda Funny Games Daily on Monday? We will find out. Of course, if you love Death Stranding and want to know more, you should go watch Roger's excellent interview with Caroline Polachek over on the Gamescast from last week. He got to sit down with her because, of course, he got her into this game. Not like he signed the contract, but he gave Kojima her album. Kojima reached out. She is now doing On the Beach, the title single from Death Stranding 2. So you can see Roger live his dream as he talks to her about the insane journey they've been on. Of course, if you need to catch up on Death Stranding 1, there's a 21-hour Death Stranding 1 stream video up on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, where Roger and Mike's first marathon stream has been edited into one video for you to go do. And then, of course, you can check out Mike and Roger's Death Stranding 2025 review on the Kind of Funny Gamescast feed. So you don't have to go far to find more Death Stranding coverage here. For now, though, we will bid you adieu. Remind you that this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we run you through the biggest topics in gaming, whether they be previews, reviews, or just things we need to talk about. Of course, if you like that, pick up a Kind of Funny membership, patreon.com/kindoffunny, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, Apple, Spotify, get all the shows ad-free, support a small independent business, and of course, get your daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a podcast series called Greg Way. Jerica, where can people keep up with you?
You can find me and Kayla on JK Games Podcast pretty much everywhere. So stay tuned because we are about to do some cool stuff with our channel. Spoiler alert, we're about to play lots of Tears of the Kingdom right now. There's some
Nice.
games I got to play more of that I've never finished, and that's one of them.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you again, Jerica, for making the time, coming out here, doing all this. I hope everybody
Yeah.
shoots over to support you.
thank you.
Anytime.
Woo!
Blessing, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Yeah.
We're going to reset for the Kind of Funny podcast, which you can watch live on Twitch and YouTube, later on YouTube, everywhere on podcasts. But for now, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.